All right, so here in Riley's dump for his Skylark, he bought this busted ass 454 that I don't know if you've seen on camera or not before, but it turns out there's more work than he wants to put into it. And for instance, this is the crankshaft that came out of it.
Here's the oil pan.
And if you look here, you can actually see the water line and how high the water is sitting up in the crank.
Oil pan.
So there's the heads. Those are open chamber heads. And then here's the oil pan that came out of that one. Nobody knew how fucked up this motor was until the pan came off, and then this whole rat's nest came out of it. Where's the box? Anyway, there's a massive rat's nest in here somewhere. And it was right on top of the oil pickup, which resides right here, by the way. Look at that oil pickup. So there's the cam. Surprisingly, that came out of the motor with some persuasion. So that block's good, but I wouldn't trust that crank. I'd throw that in the dumpster. He's gonna hang on to the heads. And now what you have sitting here is what he thought was a 454 for 1,500 bucks, plus this Doug Nash 4-speed came with the deal. 1,500 bucks for this motor and that tranny. It turns out it's a 427. It's got pop-up pistons and it's got closed chambered heads, so it should have pretty good compression. And it's clean inside. Like the dude had it in his buddy's car. Like this is recently. Riley just pulled the heads off too. There's one right there, and then there's the other. This is not what that motor was.
It's a 70 truck block or car block. I can't remember which. 74 block. 70 Chevelle heads, 290, 97cc heads, and it's got TRW 16.8 pop-up pistons, which when you run the part number, we found out that they're a 1.767 piston height, which are 427, 396 pistons. So it's got to have a 396, 427 crank in it. With the 454 bore would make it 427.
So excuse him, he's going through puberty right now. But yeah, what had happened was the guy had it listed as a 454, and regardless, we found it and we told Austin to go buy it, and Austin turned it down. So and I was like, well fuck, I'll buy it. And then I was like, well, he should buy it for his car because he needs a motor to replace that 454 back there. So I told him, fine, Austin don't want it, you buy it, and if you don't buy it, I'll buy it. And for 1,500 bucks, what I would have done was I would have took that away from that, and I would have sold that separately and sold that separately and made my money back. But
the transmission, it's a Doug Nash Super T10, where Doug Nash took T10s and upgraded them to like high nickel gears, you know, upgraded the synchronizers and whatnot, and they're beefed up. It's basically a Richmond, because Richmond bought out Doug Nash, so they do the same thing. So it's basically a Richmond built Super T10.
it's already got a ball stud on here ready to go.
Gave me the Z-bar bell housing. Another way we know it's a 427 is because the balancer doesn't have a weight on it.
It's got an internally balanced engine. If it was a 454, it'd have a counterweight in the back of the balancer.
Yeah.
So what you're gonna do with this is just take it all apart and take the block outside and scrub it up really good. Pull all the plugs out of the oil galleys, get Dawn soap in there with water and blast everything out, and then put it back together. And if it needs some stuff replaced, replace it as you go. But either way, it's not gonna end up like that motor did.
We can pull the pan off.
Yeah, well, we're about to pull the pan off, so you'll see how this turns out. But the top of this engine looked all right. It's just when the pan got waterlogged. Look, he's currently struggling to turn the engine over because he didn't put it on the stand correctly. They're lazy fucks. When they put this engine together, they painted all this, but they couldn't paint the bolts. They're all rusty. Shit, take this thing back. Yo, can you hurry up? NASCAR definitely would not hire him. Oh, apparently this has got a Nova pan on it, so it's worth money. Yep, that's it. Goodbye. Oh, that looks worse than the other one.
Oh, look at all that sludge.
Yeah, look at all that rust. Wow. Yeah, no, this is actually like decent, but I'm looking. I want to look quick. Look for obvious broken shit. What's that?
Just a piece of.
Make sure this don't got the old knockety knock going on to it.
It's like a piece of gasket material.
I don't know. As long as it ain't metal. What's this junk in the pickup? Yeah, this is why I said it needed to come apart. There's gonna be shit in this motor. I'm sitting with that timing cover off. But that looks a lot better than that, don't it? Look, my favorite part about this crank is that you can see what position it was sitting in. It was sitting with top dead center on cylinder number 1, and you can see the water line. It's on every weight. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure maybe somebody somewhere could fix that, but I don't trust cleaning out a crank like this anyway, because you got all these oil passageways that go through here, and watch, you'd never get all that out of there. I'll throw that right in the dumpster. Or throw it off a highway bridge. It's all up to you, really.
And then look at the rods. These look like factory rods, factory crank.
You said they numbered them?
Yeah.
It's not a 4-bolt, though.
I forget what Chris said about what you check. Like you can check the gap here or something. I think this is the cast crank.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Cool. Well, anyway, if you want to follow what he's done with this and he's going to do to this, you can go check it out on his channel. It's linked down to my... You can find his channel through mine. It's Riley's Junkyard and Petting Zoo. And the place really does hold up because it quite literally is a junkyard and a petting zoo with all the ducks and chickens and broken cars. So he's looking to work on this pretty soon. Like, he's got nothing else in his way at the moment, really. So that'll come apart, get disassembled, cleaned up, put back together. This is probably going to stay with the Buick 350 throughout this whole summer. He's saying by next summer, he wants to have that in the car and on the road. Plus, he just put a water pump timing chain cover and a bunch of other junk on this thing, so.
Yeah, I gotta clean that, fix that car. For some reason, it doesn't have an idle circuit, so. Fix the car and I can drive it in.
So, like I said, you want to see this one and follow this, Riley's Junkyard and Petting Zoo. And now I'm going back home so I can finish working on my Cutlass. So, maybe you'll see an episode on that. See ya.